Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this expectation of precision, like engineering or something. You break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points and says, there it is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's entirely visible. I mean, the problem is isolated, the evidence is undeniable, and the path to fixing it is standardized.
Right. You set the bone, you put on a cast, and you wait 6 weeks.
You wait it out. But then you step into the world of neurodevelopment and pediatric health, and suddenly that x-ray machine is, well, useless.
It really is. I mean, when your child is up at 2 in the morning, absolutely screaming that their stomach hurts or they have a pounding headache, your parental instinct kicks in.
Of course.
You look for the obvious culprit. You think, did they eat something bad? Is there a stomach bug going around the school? Or, are they staring at their iPad too much before bed?
Right, because we've been conditioned to look for an external pathogen, or even a behavioral failing, like you said. We search for a virus, bacteria, or just a bad habit.
But pediatricians are now realizing we might be looking at the wrong organ entirely. Like, what if that daily stomach ache or that severe chronic inability to sleep isn't a bug at all?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. And our source today is a briefing from Latalico Development Navi, which was distributed via Smart News JP, and it gives us an early look into a major upcoming medical conference in Japan.
Yes, and they're highlighting the work of a pediatrician, Dr. Takahiro Ishii. He's pointing out something that, quite frankly, completely flips the script on how we view kids' health.
It really does. He suggests that these common, everyday physical ailments are actually direct physical manifestations of a child's underlying developmental characteristics.
Exactly. The medical community is finally merging these two ideas. I mean, they are no longer treating the mind and the body as if there's a firewall between them.
Right, like they're totally separate systems.
Yeah, they're recognizing that neurological differences don't just affect how a child thinks or behaves. They dictate how the child's internal organs function on a minute-by-minute basis.
Okay, I want to pause right there because developmental characteristics is a very polite, incredibly broad term. Let's get specific for a second so we know exactly who we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Are we talking about kids on the autism spectrum, kids with ADHD? Like, what does this actually look like in the classroom or at home?
Well, we're talking about the entire neurodivergent spectrum. So that includes autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, profound sensory processing differences, and various learning disabilities.
Okay, got it.
These are children whose brains are wired to process environmental input differently than neurotypical children. For a neurotypical child, the hum of a fluorescent light in a classroom is just filtered out by the brain as background noise.
You don't even notice it.
Exactly. But for a child with sensory processing differences, that hum might sound like a chainsaw, and the flicker might look like a strobe light.
Wow. So their baseline reality is inherently more intense.
Significantly more intense, yes.
Which brings us to the conference itself. Because to understand how this reframing is moving from, a niche theory into mainstream medical practice, we need to look at where this conversation is taking place.
Right.
According to the briefing, this is the focal point of the 73rd annual meeting of the Japanese Society of Child Health.
Yeah.
And this is taking place from Friday, June 19th to Sunday, June 21st, 2026, at the Osaka City Central Public Hall.
And the fact that this is headlining the 73rd annual meeting of a national society tells you everything you need to know about the gravity of the topic.
It's not a small gathering.
No, not at all. This is not some fringe theory being discussed in the back room of an alternative medicine clinic. This is the established...
It's mainstream.
Right. When a topic takes center stage at a gathering of this magnitude, it means it has passed through years of clinical observation, peer review, and rigorous debate.
It's almost like the medical community has been running on an outdated operating system. Like if you try to fix a hardware problem with a software patch, you get nowhere.
That's a great way to put it.
For decades, pediatricians have been trying to treat these mysterious stomach aches with gastrointestinal patches, right? Like antacids or dietary changes. But these doctors in Osaka are finally releasing the right patch, updating the entire system to recognize the root cause.
And conferences of this scale serve as the distribution mechanism for that update.
Like a mass download.
Exactly. I mean, a brilliant pediatrician like Dr. Ishii might be successfully recognizing these patterns in his own local clinic. He might be seeing that a child's chronic stomach pain resolves when their sensory environment is adjusted.
Right, but if he doesn't share it, He just stays there.
Precisely. Until he shares that biological mechanism at a national level, the impact remains localized. This conference is how a localized clinical breakthrough becomes the new standard of care across thousands of clinics.
Okay, but practically speaking, what does this actually look like inside a kid's body? Because I struggle with this a bit.
Oh, so?
Well, if my kid is crying, clutching their stomach, you're telling me it might be because the classroom is too loud, or the transition from math to recess was too chaotic.
Yes, exactly that.
How can a loud room or social anxiety cause a literal physical stomach cramp? It sounds almost like we're saying it's just, all in their head.
So glad you brought that up, because it is the exact opposite of being in their head. It is in their tissue, their blood vessels, and their nervous system.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, to understand this, we have to look at the autonomic nervous system. This is the control center for everything your body does automatically. Breathing, heart rate, and crucially, digestion.
Right, the stuff we don't have to think about.
Exactly. Now, the autonomic nervous system has two main gears. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest.
Okay, so when a neurotypical kid encounters a real threat, like, say, a dog barking aggressively at them, their sympathetic nervous system kicks in.
Adrenaline spikes, they get ready to run.
Right.
Precisely. And what happens biologically in that moment of fight or flight? The brain realizes that survival is the only priority. Digesting your lunch is not going to help you survive a dog attack.
Makes sense.
So the brain sends a signal down the vagus nerve, that's the massive information highway connecting the brain to the gut, and it literally diverts blood flow away from the digestive tract and pushes it toward the limbs so you can run.
Wait, it physically pulls blood away from the stomach.
It constricts the blood vessels in the gut. The smooth muscle of the digestive tract halts its normal rhythmic contractions. Digestion completely shuts down.
Wow. I had no idea it was that mechanical.
It's incredibly mechanical. Now, apply this to a child with developmental characteristics. Their brain might perceive a loud, chaotic cafeteria or confusing social interaction not as a minor annoyance, but as a severe neurological threat.
So their amygdala fires the alarm.
Yes. They're going into a physiological fight or flight response over eating lunch in a crowded room.
And they're doing it every single day.
Sometimes multiple times a day. Their blood flow is constantly being diverted from their digestive system. Their stomach muscles are constantly seizing up or halting production of digestive enzymes.
Oh my God.
That sudden halt, that lack of blood flow, causes a very real, incredibly painful physical spasm. The stomachache is a biological reality. The cramp is there. It just wasn't caused by bad cafeteria pizza. It was caused by cortisol and adrenaline flooding their system.
That completely blows my mind. So we're basically treating the fire alarm instead of the fire.
That's a perfect analogy.
Because if a parent takes their kid to a gastroenterologist for this, the doctor is going to run an endoscopy, do a ton of scans, maybe check for Crohn's disease or celiac.
Right, they'll do the standard workup.
And all those tests are going to come back completely normal.
Because the gastrointestinal tract itself is perfectly healthy. It doesn't have a disease. It is simply functioning exactly how a human gut is supposed to function when the brain tells it a tiger is chasing them.
Oh, wow.
So the gastroenterologist looks at the scans, turns to the exhausted parents, and says, well, physically, everything is fine.
Which leaves the parent feeling like they are losing their mind.
Completely.
And worse, it leaves the child feeling completely invalidated because the pain they are experiencing is agonizing. Imagine being a 7-year-old in intense pain, and all the adults around you are implying there's nothing actually wrong with you.
It creates a secondary layer of trauma, honestly. And the same mechanism applies to the other symptoms the briefing highlights, like severe headaches and sleep disorders.
Okay, how does that work for headaches?
Well, if a child's nervous system is chronically stuck in that sympathetic fight or flight gear, their neck and shoulder muscles are perpetually tense, bracing for impact.
Like they're physically cringing all day.
Exactly. And that chronic muscle tension restricts blood flow to the head, resulting in debilitating tension headaches or migraines.
And what about the sleep disorders? Because I hear from so many parents of neurodivergent kids who say their child just will not sleep. They try melatonin, they try blackout curtains, white noise machines. Nothing works.
It's because falling asleep requires the parasympathetic nervous system to take over. You cannot transition into a state of vulnerable, deep sleep if your nervous system is sounding a 4-alarm fire.
Your body won't let you.
Right. Standard sleep hygiene tips, like turning off screens an hour before bed, they're woefully inadequate for a child whose central nervous system is vibrating at a frequency of profound hyperarousal. Their body literally refuses to power down.
This brings us to the devastating reality for the families dealing with this. The source briefing points out something that really struck me. It states that many parents and guardians raising children with developmental characteristics are troubled daily by these exact sleep disturbances and pains. Daily, not just during flu season.
The psychological toll of that word daily cannot be overstated. We are talking about chronic systemic parental burnout.
I can only imagine.
Think about the cascading effect of a child who cannot sleep. If the child is awake, pacing, or crying from a stomach ache at 3 in the morning, the parent is awake.
Right, so you're going to work the next day on 2 hours of sleep month after month.
Yes.
You start questioning your entire ability to parent. You wonder if you're feeding them the wrong foods, if you're not disciplined enough, if you're too strict.
You blame yourself.
Exactly. You scour internet forums looking for a magical probiotic that might fix a stomach ache that, as we now know, has absolutely nothing to do with gut bacteria.
It is a profoundly isolating experience to care for a child with an invisible illness that defies standard medical intervention. Parents carry this immense burden of guilt, believing they are somehow failing their child because none of the pediatrician's standard advice is working.
Which is why Dr. Ishii's focus at this national conference is so incredibly vital. The briefing emphasizes that he is providing countermeasures to these challenges.
Yes, countermeasures.
And just the existence of that word, countermeasures, it feels like a lifeline. It means there's a strategy. But what do these countermeasures actually look like if the answer isn't just a stronger painkiller or a different antacid?
Well, a true countermeasure in this context focuses on nervous system regulation rather than symptom suppression.
Okay, so how do you do that?
It starts with environmental auditing. If we know sensory overload triggers the vagus nerve to shut down digestion, the countermeasure is preventing the overload.
Ah, I see.
It might mean the child wears noise-reducing earplugs during transition periods at school, or it might mean they have a legally mandated accommodation to eat lunch in a quiet room rather than the echoing cafeteria.
So medicine is the environment.
The environment is the first line of defense, absolutely. The second is giving the child and the parents tools to actively engage the parasympathetic nervous system.
So forcing that rest and digest gear to kick in.
Exactly. Things like deep proprioceptive input, weighted blankets, or deep pressure therapy.
Oh, I've heard of weighted blankets being used.
Yes, they send physical signals to the brain that the body is grounded and safe, which can manually override the fight or flight response. It involves teaching the child somatic recognition, too.
What is somatic recognition?
It's so they can identify the very early physical signs of their nervous system escalating. That way they can take a preventative break before the adrenaline floods their system and causes the headache or the stomach cramp.
It's essentially teaching the child how to hack their own nervous system.
That's a great way to put it.
And for the parents, just sitting in a doctor's office and having a medical professional explain this biological pathway must be the most profound relief.
It replaces a mystery with a map. I mean, when a parent understands the mechanism, when they understand that the stomach ache is real but it's caused by sensory stress, they stop feeling helpless.
Right. They stop searching for a non-existent food allergy.
Yes, and they start focusing on nervous system support. It changes their entire relationship with their child's pain.
It validates them. It tells the parent, you aren't doing something wrong. Your child's body is just operating on a different biological translation of the world.
Beautifully said. The empathy embedded in this medical shift is just staggering. It's moving away from fixing a broken part and toward understanding a complex, highly sensitive human system.
And by elevating this to the 73rd annual meeting of the Japanese Society of Child Health, the medical community is basically institutionalizing that empathy.
They are. They're instructing the next generation of pediatricians to look beyond the localized symptom and evaluate the child's entire neurological landscape.
So to pull all these threads together for you, our listener, the upcoming pediatric conference in Osaka isn't just a gathering of doctors reading papers.
Not at all.
It represents a massive paradigm shift being championed by experts like Dr. Takahiro Ishii. They are officially connecting the dots between a child's developmental characteristics, their neurodivergence, and the severe daily physical symptoms they experience.
The sleep disorders, the stomach aches, the headaches.
Exactly. They aren't random bugs. They are the physiological cost of navigating a world not built for their nervous systems.
And by identifying the true biological root of these symptoms, the medical community is finally equipping exhausted parents with the tailored strategies they need to actually help their children find relief.
Replacing endless frustration with actionable, scientifically backed hope.
Exactly.
It's a complete revolution in how we care for kids. But, the implications of this don't just stop at childhood,
Oh, definitely not.
because kids grow up.
They do. And the coping mechanisms often change, but the biology does not.
That's a really good point.
If developmental characteristics can manifest so powerfully as physical ailments in children, if sensory overload can literally stop digestion or cause blinding headaches, we really have to ask ourselves a much larger question.
Which is,
How much of our own unexplained adult suffering is rooted in the exact same mechanism?
wow. Yeah, think about all the adults walking around with chronic irritable bowel syndrome, mystery migraines, or decades-long insomnia.
We just write it off.
We do. We write it off as stress or a demanding job. But what if it's more than that? What if it's our own unrecognized neurodivergent traits,
Characteristics that we simply learn to mask over decades to fit into society.
while our bodies silently continue to bear the physical cost of that masking?
The brain might learn to hide the sensory discomfort or the social anxiety, but the autonomic nervous system always keeps the score. The body absorbs the impact.
That completely reframes the mystery of adult burnout. Just because your x-ray is clean doesn't mean your body isn't carrying a heavy, invisible load.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder how many of us are still just treating the fire alarm. Well, that is something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep looking beyond the surface of everyday information, and we will see you next time.